Tonight, homicide investigation. Fort St. John RCMP are investigating the city's first murder of the year. More measles cases. Northern Health says the number is now up to 33. An evacuation order rescinded. Port Nelson First Nation says the danger has passed. Good evening and thank you for joining us. And we begin tonight in Fort St. John, where police are investigating that city's first murder of the year. Mounties are not releasing a lot of information at this point, but here's what we do know. The police were called to the 9900 block of 99 Avenue on Tuesday night. When they arrived, officers found a person who was unresponsive. First responders tried to save the man's life, but it was too late. The victim was pronounced dead at the scene. Police are not releasing any more information at this time, but they do say their investigation is ongoing, and anyone with any information or dash cam footage of the area is being asked to contact the Fort St. John RCMP. New measles cases in Northern Health Region to tell you about tonight. According to the BC Centre for Disease Control, 15 new cases have been diagnosed, and that brings the total to 33 in Northern BC. Across the province, there are now 49 cases, compared that to 8 days ago when there was 31. Fraser Health saw 3 new cases. Numbers for Coastal Health in Vancouver have not changed. Most of the new cases are coming from here in the north. Health officials say the numbers in the Northern Health region are likely higher since not everyone is seeking medical attention. And the new cases of measles here in the Peace region are leading to new concerns now that school's about to be dismissed for the summer. Health officials in British Columbia are issuing warnings, urging the public to get their shots. Here's Andrew Johnson with why summer may present a higher risk.
After this week, school is out for summer, and health officials are bracing for a surge of new measles cases as families hit the road and potentially fuel new spread between communities. There are 17 new cases this week in BC, substantial growth in a province that has only seen a few dozen in 2025. Alberta started the week announcing 15 new cases in just 24 hours. Exposure warnings from the BC Centre for Disease Control are already pointing to travel being a factor, with people who recently sailed on ferries between Metro Vancouver and Victoria being asked to watch for symptoms. Infectious disease experts can't believe what they're seeing.
This is astounding. This breaks my heart. As far back as the turn of the century, we had declared measles as eliminated in Canada, controlled in terms of local transmission. Vaccination rates have decreased in the province of British Columbia from 90% as recently as 5 or 6 years ago down to 70% and 50% or less in some parts of the province. That's what's driving this.
Every infection in BC and close to 90% in Alberta have been in unvaccinated people. Children are typically immunized with 2 doses by the age of 6. People who haven't gotten their shot are urged to get it at a pharmacy or clinic. Measles can be tricky because early symptoms are often mistaken for a cold, including a cough, runny nose, or red eyes. By the time the more obvious rash sets in, many others may have already been exposed to the virus.
Fort Nelson First Nation has rescinded the evacuation order for its Fontes Reserve. The reserve is southeast of Fort Nelson, where a trio of wildfires is burning near Sakani Old Growth Provincial Park. The First Nation says the risk of imminent danger to life and property has now passed. A fire burning near the Fort Nelson River has grown in size to just over 12,000 hectares. 2 other fires are burning east of the provincial park. All 3 are burning out of control and are thought to be caused by lightning. Mounties announcing a major drug and weapons bust in northern BC. 4 people, all from Prince Rupert, are facing a total of 28 charges. Police say it comes after a 14-month drug and trafficking and firearms investigation. Mounties seized 9 shotguns, 1.2 kilos of methamphetamine, cocaine, $38,000 in cash, along with 2 vehicles. All 4 suspects have been released from custody. The province of Alberta is once again pushing back against Ottawa. Premier Danielle Smith wants to hear what Albertans think. So, a panel will host a series of town halls and then put together possible questions to go to a referendum next year. CTV's Jordan Canagan reports.
In the shadow of an oil rig from the past, Alberta's premier is looking to the future.
Ottawa, led by successive Liberal governments propped up by their NDP allies, have attacked our economy and taken direct aim at Alberta's core industries.
Danielle Smith says Alberta is at a crossroads. An Alberta Next panel of more than a dozen people was chosen. Politicians, academics, business leaders, and more will listen to Albertans about defending the province's economy and how to push back against Ottawa.
In the absence of fairness and functionality, each province should be within their rights to explore ways to have greater control of their destiny and defend their interests while remaining firmly in the Federation.
But it comes as separatism sentiment bubbles across the province.
It's a tightrope that she's walking. Right? On the one hand, she wants to support referenda, including on separation potentially. At the same time, she's trying to work within Canada and get a better deal.
A better deal should include more autonomy, Smith says, and Albertans will be asked to consider a possible Alberta pension plan, a provincial police force, equalization payments, and more.
I mean, Ottawa has been interfering in every aspect of our provincial jurisdiction in deeper and deeper ways for about a decade now. And we've had enough of it. So I would say that this is trying to reset the relationship to get Ottawa focused on its areas of jurisdiction.
Jordan Cadigan, CTV News, Calgary.
An outlook by the accounting firm Deloitte Canada says the economy is heading for a recession this year. However, it's not the worst possible outcome from the trade war with the United States. Deloitte expects the Canadian economy to be in a modest recession in the second and third quarters of this year. They're predicting a rebound towards the end of the year. GDP expected to grow by 1.1% this year, with unemployment rates rising to 7.9%. Now, as for who will be hit the hardest, Ontario's economy is forecast to grow by just 0.4%. It's mainly because the province is a top exporter of steel and finished automobiles that are subject to tariffs. The outlook goes on to say business investment will remain negative for the next few months before rebounding at the end of the year. A 2-week work stoppage that shut down operations at DHL Express Canada appears to be over. It comes after the shipping company reached a tentative agreement with its union. Unifor, which represents over 2,100 truck drivers, couriers, and warehouse workers, have not released details of the new agreement, the union saying a ratification meeting will take place in the coming days. Workers were at an impasse with the company over issues of wages, working conditions, and concerns about automation in the workplace. That was a scary moment coming from the Canadian Senate today. A senator from Quebec, Patrick Brazo, stood up to speak, then he collapsed.
Thank you very much, and
A Senate spokesperson says Brazo had a medical incident. He was examined by paramedics. He now appears to be recovering. Well, the Prime Minister is on his way back to Ottawa from the Netherlands after making a major commitment to boost Canada's contribution to NATO. Mark Carney has agreed that Canada will almost double military defense spending. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has more on the pledge that will mean billions more in spending every year.
A highly anticipated historic sit-down for the NATO alliance started today with a clear message from Secretary General Mark Rutte.
For too long, one ally, the United States, carried too much of the burden of that commitment. And that changes today. President Trump, dear Donald, you made this change possible.
That has been Donald Trump's pitch as he drove the charge to increase the alliance's defense spending pledge.
NATO is going to become very strong with us.
Alliance members making official today what was expected, a new baseline spending target of 5% of GDP to be reached by 2035.
This is a significant commitment in response to significant threats to our security.
The fact that we are doing this today, the fact that we're united, the fact that the United States is fully behind this, the fact that we're working together is going to reduce the threat environment 10 years from now.
3.5% will have to go to core defense spending, with a requirement to spend another 1.5% on defense-related infrastructure investments. Carney says meeting the 5% commitment would mean earmarking $150 billion a year for defense.
So yes, we'll find gaps. We'll be transparent about that. We'll make up those gaps. So the overall context of the net increase in defense spending is much less than the headline from 2 to 5.
But key to today's new pledge from the alliance, a plan to review progress in 2029, ensuring it still meets the needs of the global security landscape.
Senior government officials tell us they see an opportunity then to address whether the breakdown of 3.5 and 1.5 could be balanced differently, a change they believe could be better for Canada. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, The Hague.
And while at the NATO summit, Donald Trump said U.S. and Iranian officials will hold talks next week. He once again pushed back on the leaked U.S. intelligence report that suggested the strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities may have only set the country back by a few months.
Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out.
The UN nuclear watchdog says it expects that damage at Iran's underground Fordo facility is very significant, but they can't know for sure. Iran says it'll not give up its nuclear program, although the ceasefire between Israel and Iran appears to be holding today. And some Canadians caught in the region are unable to get out because of airspace restrictions, are now home or on their way home. Heather Wright on the journey to safety for some and the ongoing efforts to get out for others.
On Canadian soil after a 21-hour journey home, Tim Payne and Brandon Lucchese landed in Toronto this morning. The Canadian hockey players had arrived in Israel shortly before the war with Iran began.
It was unexpected, it was scary. It was a lot. I thought we were going to be stuck there, so happy to be back home.
Like many Canadians leaving the region, the two traveled to nearby Jordan and flew back through the capital, Amman. While Israel's main airport in Tel Aviv is back to normal operations, airspace in both Israel and Iran had been closed for nearly 2 weeks, which further complicated efforts to get Canadians out. Some have called Ottawa's response inadequate, but Canada's former ambassador to Israel says the criticism is unfair.
You have traveled, you got caught up in a difficult circumstance. The government should do everything possible to get you out of the danger zone if they can, but there's no obligation, nor should there be an obligation for the government of Canada to be paying for people to fly home.
Global Affairs Canada says they have helped more than 600 Canadians leave the region, while many others have left on their own. And while Tuesday's ceasefire has brought some stability to the area, there is still worry.
It's frustrating, it's stressful.
Bahar Motamedian's 72-year-old father is in Iran, and she's trying to get him to Canada. She is a citizen, but he is not. She's hoping this war will encourage the government to speed up efforts to reunite families.
I know that Canada always says things that, okay, we want to reunite families. I think that this is the best time that Canada can show that strong leadership and help us bring our families here.
With this fragile ceasefire holding, both Iran and Israel are turning now to recovery. According to Iran, the 12-day war killed more than 600 people. In Israel, the death toll is nearly 30. Heather Wright, CTV News.
And despite the region's ceasefire, people are still trying to leave both Iran and Israel. And as you just saw, Canada has flown its first evacuation flight out of the Middle East.
We will continue to be there to support Canadians and to advocate and ensure, to the best of our abilities, the safety and security of that region as a whole.
Foreign Affairs says there were 95 passengers on board the flight from Jordan to Athens. The plan today was to gather more people who want to leave using bus stations in Israel and along Iran's border. About 6,000 Canadians are registered in Israel and the occupied West Bank, and another 6,000 in Iran. Ottawa says so far it's helped about 500 people leave the region. All right, please do stay tuned. I'll be right back after the break with weather.